Hello everyone and welcome to day 5 of our watercoloring course. This is going to be the final class in this course. Thank you everyone for sticking through for this process of an introduction to watercolor. I've saved the best for last. Today we're going to be looking at how to paint a tree. It's going to take all the skills that we've learned so far, all the methods and practices from shading, from line variation to color mixing, diluting, all of this sort of stuff that we're going to be using, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera and let's get started on this project. All right, so let's go ahead and start with talking about our layout here. Just as I said before, I'm gonna have my napkins on the left side. So I'm gonna be using two, just in case I need to brush off a little bit more paint than usual. I've got my water cup right here, which I'm gonna be using as well, and then I've got my paints off to the left right here. If you look at your paint palette for today, we're going to be using, for the basic kits, we're going to be using the top 4 colors right here, mainly the dark colors, and then we're going to be referencing to the black a few times. So you're mainly going to want to use the top part of your palette for the majority of the course of this session. So let's go ahead and dip our brush into the water here. I'm gonna start off by grabbing just a little bit of blue, just the tiniest little bit, and we're gonna start off with this color. Let's grab a little bit more. You're gonna really dilute that blue. I'm gonna go ahead and start to form a little bit of a trunk here from the bottom. Okay, just kind of like that. And then I'm just gonna go up like so. It's gonna be a little bit uneven, that's how we want it to be. And kind of moving throughout, going back down. Let's grab a little bit more blue, start to fill it in. At about maybe halfway from about right here, got a few inches up, maybe 2 or so inches, you're gonna branch this off. So I'm gonna go ahead and start to move into 2 segments. So I'm gonna grab a little bit more blue so we can have this show up here. You're gonna see this little branching off right here from one to the next. We're gonna be adding shadows. Our light source is gonna be coming in from the top left corner. We're gonna move up like so, and it's gonna go out like that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and grab some more blue, this to be a bit darker. And I'm gonna go up right here, kind of have a little bit of a jutting out. And then I'm gonna go thin, go up. I'm gonna have another one and I'm gonna go just kind of link it to this one. Just like that. So that's kind of a base of our tree that we're gonna be working with right here. You can add slight little bumps, variations, does not need to look like this. In fact, you can make your branches stem in different directions. It does not matter. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little bit more blue. Make some of this a bit brighter here, a little bit darker, just more visible so that we can see what it is that we're painting. Okay, so that's sort of the first layer, and then I'm gonna come down here, I'm gonna extend the trunk out even more, just a little bit. Go ahead and do that. All right, let's grab a little bit more blue, start to darken this up, grab some and put it on the sides here. Okay, and we're gonna go in and add more layers in a moment. But let's get started with some of the most basic of colors for the actual leaves. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my green. If you haven't done a tree before, we're mainly looking for patches. That's what makes this a bit more difficult. So I'm gonna move out here, kind of try to form a little bit of a shape. It's kind of handy to have a reference of a tree right in front of you just so that you can sort of see what it is that you're aiming for. So you can find more organic shape. I'm gonna move down and I'm just gonna slowly kind of cover this tree here. Don't worry about your branches overlapping. We will be going in with darker colors, so that will not show up. Be perfectly fine. I'm going to top it off at about right there. Go ahead and grab some more green. Just make it really faint. And start to pull that color in. Just like that. I have a few parts segmenting off. Grab a little bit into there. Try to pull that down. Okay. You can have patches in your tree. Add some of the natural tendencies right there. Grab a little bit more green. There's going to be a bit more dark. This is where we're going to start to see some more of the darker shades within the tree. Kind of pull that in just a bit. Move it out in a few occasions. Pull that down. Grab some of that. Transfer it over here. A little bit more. Just like that. Grab some, put it up, cast shadow right there. Okay. Go ahead like that. So now we've got our tree working here. I'm gonna go ahead and darken some of these areas. So I'm gonna go in here. Just building up layers. That's what we've been working towards for this. We've just been slowly building up layers with the projects that we've been doing so that we can get to moments like this where we can really sort of show the difference between layers. Okay? So I'm liking that right now. I can always go back in, make it a little bit less, a little bit more, whatever it is that I want to do. Now, to show the consistency, I'm going to grab some of this dark green, and I'm just going to make the last little bits here of the tree. And I'm going to go ahead and sort of outline the rest of the areas that I'm going to be using for color, because we know these areas are going to be darker, so if we use a light color, it's going to go over it. So just to kind of place out where it is that our tree is, and how far out it's going to extend, right? So I'm gonna have a few branches that kind of come out like that, bit of overgrowth right here, maybe a little bit more bulgy right there. I think we might have this lean out a bit more over here. Probably might bring, as you do this, you can see if you want it to look a bit more organic, then some parts they move out a bit more than others, right? Like so. Grab a little bit more of that green. Maybe have mine move out, come back in like that. I don't know, something like that. Now, we can move into the tree again, the actual branches and the main frame of our tree here. Okay. And we're going to start to just add these layers. I'm going to add the first one here. We're going to start to make it a bit darker, like so. Okay. Grab a bit more of that blue. Go ahead and put it up here. Okay. We have that one right over here. Okay. Pull it down just a bit. Grab some of my dark blue over here. This one we can just go ahead and make it darker right from the beginning, since this one's more of that kind of taste. I'm even gonna have a little bit of my stem come up right here. Okay, just gonna go like that. Which means that in between the trees, I'll sort of hint at it. And this one's kind of going up. Maybe have a little bit coming out right there. And one going right there. Okay. I'm gonna go back in, grab some more of that dark blue, and I'm gonna push that, have it much darker near the bottom, just like that. And go ahead and add some of these shadows onto the other parts as well. Okay. A little bit right there, maybe a little bit right there, since they're a bit darker. Okay. So we're making it darker. It's the main part of the objective here. Just showing a little bit of that light though as well, kind of letting that seep in. Now, we can go ahead and look and say, okay, well, our green's dried, so we can grab a shade of blue, right? Dilute it a bit, and we can go ahead and start to form some of the shadows here. So where we have the dark greens, we can add some blue. All of that, just right in here. Anything that I left blank, I know that's probably gonna be a dark blue. So I'm gonna grab a bit more. And what you're kind of doing here is you're saying, okay, so where did I leave gaps? Where's the darkest of green? And the darkest of green is gonna be the border between what we know to be where the sun hits the tree and where the shadows begin. So we're trying to find that nice little area where we have the difference. And we just have to kind of look to see where the light bounces, right? Where it reflects off of our tree from one area to the next. I'm just gonna slowly move across the tree as I add a bit more water. Okay, these areas are gonna be much darker. Maybe up here we add some more shade, but maybe a little bit of light touches. Okay, probably a little bit like that. Some of this is gonna go out and then I'm gonna come back. And I'm just gonna keep filling this in. Down here is gonna be much darker than the other areas. I'm gonna have this one area jet out just a little bit. Okay. As you can see, I'm slowly filling in areas where before they were already green. You can have some areas like maybe right here, there's like a little bit of an area hiding, right? Behind the light. So we can do like this. It reaches in. You can have some of these spots, like these shady regions where like the sun barely hits it. But we can give some three-dimensionality to it by adding these subtle layers onto it. Okay. So now we have kind of a sense of what our tree is going to look like here. Now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add some more blue to the tree. This time, not even wiping the brush off on our water cup. I'm just grabbing it straight from the paints. As you can see, it's really dark. So we're adding in the darkest of regions, okay? I'm just gonna slowly pull this down very carefully into some of the other regions so we can get these dark shades moving throughout the tree. The darker that you make your blue, the more the contrast you'll see. You'll have to be careful for the colors and the layers in between, but you can really show the contrast between the layers. As long as you follow the same pattern, you can go ahead and do different seasons. You can do different times of day. You can go ahead and play with your reds, your oranges, your yellows, same sort of deal as with this. It's just that you are using different colors, but the shading is still going to be the same, right? So we can do that. We don't have to just use the blues. Okay. Now we're going to add some shadows to show the reflection of the tree from the light source hitting it. Our shadow's going to go across the plane here. But I'm going to go ahead and hold off on that for right now. And I'm just going to grab some more blue, slowly move into the darker areas of our tree here. So I'm moving across the paper. I'm pulling, carefully analyzing where I want to put the shades. But it's not as if it's organized or planned out when it comes to, you know, the shades of blue. I'm trying to be pretty organic. If I pay too much attention as to, where am I going to put this dark blue? Is this too much right here? I just want to get it close to the edge. No, if I do all of that, it's not going to look authentic. It's not going to look organic. I am paying attention to the layers where the cutoff is between larger shapes, but I'm not paying attention to entirely where it's spreading to. If I pay too close of attention, if I move my brush too slowly, if I pay too much attention to the exact spreading of the color from one branch to the next or one leaf to the next, we're not going to have that organic look that we're shooting for, and it's going to look more of like, not an artificial tree, but it's just going to look, it's not going to look like how we want it to. It's not going to be as free-flowing. It's going to look pretty constricted, so we don't want our tree to look constricted. So I'm just going to keep pushing this blue throughout the tree, slowly moving into the blues that we already have, having those layers of contrast right there, defining boundaries. That's what I'm doing. Leaving a few gaps for it to be a little bit lighter to show the reflecting of the light, pushing down through here, slowly having the branches blend into our dark blue. So as you can see right there. Now, we have two sharp extremes here. We have the blue of the shading of the shadows, and we have the green of the direct light. Now, as we know, there aren't just two extremes, right? There are shades of green. So I'm going to go back to this after I let it dry for a minute, and I'm going to come in with some really dark blues down here, and I'm going to start to add some dark greens, right? So we're going to use less water with our green to allow it to become darker, right? So I'm going to use very little water. I'm going to almost go directly onto my green and just go right onto it. If I'm using the basic kit, I'm just gonna dip it in real quickly, maybe even dry my brush off a little bit on the napkin, and just take the paint straight from the box. Just straight, because see how dark that can be? That green can be very dark. The blue can be very dark if I don't add a whole lot of water to it. So this is where we really use our ability to dilute the colors or take the pure form to be able to create these contrasts within the shadows. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of the black. We're gonna go ahead and start to move into this phase. As you can see, it's immediately much darker just by adding the slightest little bit of black. We're gonna go ahead and grab some more. This is a whole lot of black right here, as you can see, and I'm just gonna push it throughout. Not a whole lot, right? I'm not trying to drown the picture in the dark black, Otherwise, we'll lose the subtle little shadows that we've got going there on the side. So I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to push this throughout. Now we've got our shades going right here. I'm gonna make sure that the bottom of the tree near the roots is very dark right here, since that's gonna be where the least, so this is coming from the top, this should be the areas, these far right areas should be the least lit regions. They should be the darkest. I can even go ahead and grab just a little bit of that blue and start to kind of blend it a bit down here, since, you know, down here it's a little bit harder. But you can see that I'm making the texture of the wood as I'm wrapping it around, doing these thin little layers from left to right. So the more of those layers that you add, the thinner you make them, allowing for these slight little variations on the sides, the better your tree is going to look. So let's go ahead now and start to do what I said we were gonna do earlier, just grabbing the blue right off of the page and just going right in for the darkest of blues. So now we're making it really dark right here. I'm even gonna go in and add a little bit of black in a minute, but I just wanna see how far this blue can take me. If you've noticed, just by putting that down, that small bit of blue, look how far I was able to push that. I was able to really push those colors, really push them. Okay, I'm gonna grab another bit of blue, but I'm not gonna put it back down there. I'm gonna move it up here, right? I'm gonna create layers. So in this region, it's a little bit darker, right there. A little bit darker than the other areas that we were seeing. And so I'm gonna create patches. I'm gonna think, well, this area is a dark patch right in this region. I've got one down here, obviously. This is gonna be a very light area. This is gonna be the lightest of areas. And then maybe over here is a little bit less dark because it's a wraparound form. You gotta think in that 3D way, right? So we're just slowly building up these layers. Now I can go ahead and grab a little bit more blue and start to put in the darkest of shades for our top here. Okay, because I don't want to go, you know, I don't want to put too much in. But I do want to show that, hey, there is shading. This is a pretty extreme lighting situation here. So we do have a little bit. Okay, so just putting that in. And now that I've done that, right, now that I've created these little layers, I'm gonna go ahead and do one more, since I don't like how the layers work so well in that region. I'm gonna add a dark blue just right here. I'm gonna lightly push that into this area. Okay, this is gonna be one region where it kind of collapsed, it kind of caved in on, the tree caved in on itself, and it's a darker region. Adding some of that blue. I'm gonna go in and add a very light blue. Put it on the bottom sides of the tree right here, going in below, adding a bit more, pushing it around, just like we always do. I can go down here, do a little bit more blue, since that's a little bit further up from the light source. So as you can see that, right? Now this is where the fun begins. We can go ahead and start making it very dark, very dark. Like I said, I'm gonna grab a little bit of black, and I'm gonna just meld a little bit of this into the bottom right here. Just a little bit. Don't a whole lot, because black's a very dark color. Make a lot of changes with that. That's about good. Grab some more of this blue. Make it even darker right there. Showing the small distinctions, I'm just making patches, right? Just making patches. Pushing this right there and right there. Not pushing it a whole lot, because I want it to stay pretty dark right there. I want it to keep that form. I'm gonna add some over here. This is gonna be another one of the dark patches, just a little bit. That one's gonna, you know, push up there maybe just a bit. Okay, some out here. Pushing it over to the bottom side of that branch, and then grabbing a little bit of the dark blue and putting it out over right there. Okay, so give me the darkest areas. Those are the darkest areas of our tree, and I can put a little bit of water, blend it a little bit more to create less contrast. Anything that we want to do right there. Now, like I said, we're going to move into the darker greens. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some of the darker greens here, just like that. I'm going to move in, put it right there. I'm grabbing this darker greenish color. Okay, using less water will get you a darker green. Just very little water. And I'm just kind of blending it in with the darker regions, just like that. Kind of blending it in with the blue just a bit. Just right there. I can grab a bit more of the dark green, put it literally on the outskirts of the dark blue. Just really trying to push that. These color combos. Right there we see just a tad bit of that dark green I was talking about. We can push some in here since we see that shading composition right there, how we had that little patch. This is a patch right there. I'm gonna move that into that patch. We had some right here. Grabbing some of that green, pushing it over here, picking it up, using my brush to pick that up, blending it in with some of the blue we have over here, grabbing a little bit more of the green, a little bit too much, so I'm gonna push some of that. Go ahead and put it down the bottom right here below. Very little water, that's how we're still making that dark green. So we're just really pushing it. Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add some to the other side just to show that even though there is very little light over here, we still are getting those greens on for the three-dimensionality of this one side. It is gonna be a blended effort, okay? You will see some dark greens on this side, that's how it works, okay? Grabbing some more of that dark green, pushing them out on the side right here, showing that difference. You're gonna get more of a tealish color when you start to push them together. Grabbing a bit more, going up here, adding some to up top here, right there. I can add a little bit of like fringes, just moving my brush, tapping it very lightly on the side to give it more of a less even appearance right here. I'm gonna even show that there's a little bit of green in the leaves that are leading up to like right here, so. Some right there, pushing out, moving that green to right around here. I'm gonna grab some more of the green, add it to my dark blue up here for these light changes. Add some underneath the leaves that we have right here, showing the shadow, still moving it throughout, grabbing a bit more, pushing it throughout the shadow. And we're just following the same pattern the whole time. We're just slowly moving the brush across to get that light that we're looking for, right? So I can go ahead and grab a little bit more of the consistency of the green. I can go ahead and really push it right here for the sharp contrast we have going between these two. Pull it down right in between there and really push it right there. Now you kind of see that. So now I can grab some more of the dark blue by using very little water. Took it right from the palette, didn't wipe it off on anything, and I'm just gonna really let it pool. This is gonna be the darkest areas, just right down below right here. Slowly building up layers as we've been doing this whole time. We just gotta build up these layers, show that there are shadows in between here. Go up to that one area I was talking about, still following along with our rule of patches, going through here, pushing down, just like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab some more of the black. Didn't wipe it off on anything. And this is going to be the darkest of regions right here. Pushing that black to the stem. Grabbing a little bit more black. And putting it in the dark blue right there. Just slight little variations. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let the tree dry. So I'm going to move back down here to what we have. We can create a shadow. So we can use, this is where we're really going to put a lot of water on just to make sure the shadow is not too dark from the beginning. And you're just going to slowly grab your line and kind of push your way out. Okay, and then we'll go down, just grab another one. Grab, as this thing kind of moves, it's a little bit less consistent. So I'm moving, and we're gonna cut it off because the whole tree would end up, we'd end up seeing it move out like this. It's gonna get bigger at the bottom, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's it would start to move like that. So, but we're not gonna show all that. We're gonna kind of end it because we just want to give them a little, just give the audience a little bit of a glimpse, right? Just give them only a tad so that they can see kind of where it's going. Like, okay, I can see it's kind of going from, this little region, and I can see that he's trying to show me that there is, there is a shadow of the tree which is going out, but we're not seeing all of it, right? We're just seeing a little bit. We'll go ahead and grab some of that black. Didn't brush it off on anything, just putting it right in here. Gonna push that, really push it. Pushing out like that to a bit of the region. And that's where we started to see the change between the layers. Gonna connect that right there. Once that's dry, I'm gonna go ahead and add a second layer onto that since we're kind of showing that region. And then what you can do, once this region, we're just like for maybe about a minute and it'll dry, we're gonna go ahead and add some of our light blue, really, really dilute the blue, maybe only about 10 to 20% blue, 90 to 80% water. So we're just gonna grab the faintest of blue, and we're gonna make just around here a sort of light blue for the time of day to show that it is on some sort of ground, right? Let's just give it a minute here. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'll start getting it ready. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of my blue. Really trying to dilute that, okay? And I'm grabbing it and I'm just going like this. And I'm already, as you can see, really sort of pulling it. Because I don't want it to be that dark. I want it to be pretty light. Still going right near the area that we just made. Grabbing that blue. Kind of pull it in like that. Going right around. Blending it a little bit with this region, right? Grabbing a little bit more blue. I'm gonna go up top here now. Let's grab a little bit more actually. Go up here and sort of connect it. Just kind of like that. So as you can see, the audience has now been given two different layers. They can clearly see that there's the shadow of the tree, but they can tell that the shadow of the tree is on some sort of solid ground. And that's right, that's what we're trying to do. So I'm gonna do the last few layers now that this tree is dry, and I'm just gonna show you what we're gonna do, just the last little touches. You're going with the dark blue, and you're just gonna lightly go around the areas where it's really dark. That last little effect, and I'm gonna go in, grab a little bit more. Maybe this region right here. A little bit. Some right here. some right there. And I'm just slowly pushing what we've got into these zones for just the littlest, tiniest little bit of shadow. Some on the sides right there. Just very lightly, not a whole lot. So we don't want to take away from the light that we've already put on these regions. Okay. Grab a little bit of blue. A little bit more. Finishing off the shading right there. All right, and there you go. So that is your tree. Thank you everyone for following this series. I hope you enjoyed all of the videos that we have. If you're interested in following some more art, go ahead and check out all the other course offerings that we have. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.